On January 31st, after 70 years of broadcasting, this fell silent, meaning the voice of Radio Australia will not be heard on shortwave radios across the Pacific and around the world. Do you think the ABC has done the wrong thing here?
Well, they've absolutely done the wrong thing. It's not just across the Pacific and around the world, but it's also here in Australia, that long-distance truck drivers, people working in remote communities, in Indigenous communities, they won't have that access to shortwave radio. It is nothing short of a disgrace. The Sydney-based management of the ABC are completely out of touch with what Australians want, not just in the bush, but it's also about us retreating from the Asia-Pacific region. And guess what? That gap, that vacuum will be filled by other countries, particularly China. It's a pretty dopey thing to do in terms of our relationship with our near neighbours.
Do you think the managers at Ultimo should get out of Sydney and come to Shepparton and come to the Northern Territory?
I reckon they need to come to Shepparton and the Northern Territory. And in fact, they should go on a drive with one of the truckies, long distance truckies like Gary Williams, who, and I'll be doing the ride with him in the next few weeks up to the Northern Territory, where getting that access to the ABC was absolutely critical for him. It's also a good fatigue management tool, but it's also about being connected with emergency information, basically having the same rights as other Australians to be able to listen to their ABC.
The government has said this is a decision of the ABC. So is it the role of the government to force their hand?
Well, it's going to be the role of the Parliament to say the ABC needs to be fair dinkum about its charter. There's a charter obligation that the ABC is meant to be there for all Australians, but there also ought to be a charter obligation to ensure that they fulfil that, and that's why I'll be putting up legislation as a matter of urgency in the Senate. And so far I've had some very interesting calls from people from the government, some senior people within the government who are really concerned about the ABC's decision. But I think that the fair thing to do as well is that the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade needs to chip in a bit of money to make sure that those broadcasts can continue in our region.